Busy Friday for the Justice Department. Yesterday morning, FBI agents searched the home and office of President Donald Trump's former national security advisor and now his prominent critic, John Bolton. Hours later, the department released transcripts from its recent interview with Ghislaine Maxwell, the longtime associate of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. NPR Justice correspondent Ryan Lucas joins us. Ryan, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
And let's begin with Ghislaine Maxwell. Remind us why the DOJ talked to her in the first place.
So Maxwell's a former girlfriend and, as you said, longtime associate of Epstein's. She's currently serving a 20-year sentence on sex trafficking and other charges for helping Epstein sexually exploit underage girls. Now, the number 2 official in the Trump Justice Department, the president's former personal attorney, Todd Blanche, he sat down for a 2-day interview with Maxwell in Florida last month. And he did so because the DOJ is trying to tamp down the public blowback that it's faced over its handling of the Epstein files.
Anything stand out from those transcripts for you?
There weren't any major revelations. Many of the famous names that have surfaced over the years in connection with Epstein do come up. But at one point, Maxwell tells Blanche that she never saw any man do anything inappropriate with a woman of any age while with Epstein. And she also said that Epstein didn't have a client list, that there's no black book, that he didn't blackmail associates.
Now, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were friends for years before they had an apparent falling out. What did she say about Donald Trump?
So Maxwell told Blanche that she never saw Trump do anything improper. She said he was never in an inappropriate setting. She also said this.
And as far as I'm concerned, President Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me. And I just want to say that I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now. And I like him. And I've always liked him.
Now, her attorney says Maxwell told the truth in this interview, but there are a couple of things to bear in mind here. One is that Maxwell, as I said earlier, is serving a 20-year prison sentence. She would very much like a reduction in that sentence or a pardon. The one man who can deliver that is President Trump. The other thing is that, remember, a federal jury in New York heard evidence about Maxwell's role grooming girls for Epstein to sexually exploit, and they convicted her on that evidence.
Do you think the transcript and audio recordings are going to convince those who doubted the department is being open about the Epstein case?
It's hard to imagine, but we'll see what effect this has. Many skeptics want to see the full Epstein files. Now, the Justice Department did send some of those files to the House Oversight Committee on Friday. That was in response to a subpoena. Now, those files aren't going to be made public right away. The committee's Republican chairman says that the panel's going to go through them to make sure that victims' identities and any child sexual abuse materials are redacted first.
Finally, Ryan, the FBI search of John Bolton's home and office. What can you tell us?
So Vice President J.D. Vance has said that this is related, at least in part, to classified documents. Now, Bolton, as you noted at the top, is a very outspoken critic of President Trump. And this search of his home and his office, those come just a couple of weeks after the Justice Department opened probes into 2 other very prominent, outspoken Trump critics. That's California Senator Adam Schiff and New York Attorney General Letitia James. So this is just going to deepen concerns about whether the Justice Department is using its enormous powers to pursue President Trump's promised campaign of vengeance against his perceived political enemies.
NPR's Ryan Lucas, thanks so much.
Thank you.
President Trump continued his attacks on the Federal Reserve this week for not lowering interest rates. Then yesterday, the Fed Chair Jerome Powell said a possible cut might be in the offing. We're joined now by NPR's Ron Elving. Ron, thanks so much for being with us.
Good to be with you, Scott.
Just the hint of that possibility sent up the stock market. Is it potentially good news for the economy?
Well, a lot of investors surely think so, or at least they think a lot of other investors will think so, and stock prices will therefore rise. And they certainly spiked yesterday. But it's good to remember that Powell was teasing a possible rate cut because he says he sees potential weakness in the economy. A softer labor market, among other things. He also worried out loud about stubborn inflation and the impact of tariffs. But he does not want his tight money policy to tip the economy into recession. So much depends on what the if Powell sees the tariffs driving up inflation more than he expected, he could pull back on the rate cut. But if he likes the trends in a month, he can make a modest cut and hint at more to come. A rate cut of any size would be a trophy for Trump and his high-pressure style of governing.
Republican lawmakers in Texas have voted to redraw congressional maps to try to boost the party's electoral odds. Democrats in California have retaliated, starting down that same kind of path. Now Missouri, Indiana, other states contemplating the same. Is there a gerrymandering arms race going on?
Oh, it's on. Trump is letting the red states know he expects them to report for duty. He wants them to lay claim to some swing district seats in the House that in a midterm year, like next year, might well vote against the party in the White House. And if it's an arms race, the Republicans are better armed. There are more states where they control the governorship and the legislature. So if it's going to be an all-out war with everybody pushing super partisan mapping to the max, the likely winners, at least in the short run, would be Republicans. The losers, once again, are the voters in all the districts where they thought they'd be able to cast a meaningful vote for Congress in a competitive race. It's obviously not good for democracy. It's an abuse of power, but it's been practiced by both parties back to the 1700s. It was greatly enhanced, of course, by modern computing and contemporary data applications, so we see the newest tech serving the oldest of political motives.
Ron, the week began with hopes for peace between Russia and Ukraine. Trump has now set a new 2-week deadline. Closer to any kind of agreement, do you think?
One hates to say no. After all the effort that's been made, after all the show of unity by the European allies, but it's hard to see what's brought peace any closer this month, or might do so in Trump's latest 2-week window. Trump dropped his demand for a ceasefire as a precondition for a deal. Putin gave up. Well, what? He has yet to commit even to a meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky. Putin continues to bomb Ukraine's cities and the people who live there. He continues to insist that Ukraine give up land seized by the Russian army, and maybe more besides. And where is Trump in all this? It seems clear that he does want peace to happen, for the combatants and for his own legacy. But do the Russians? Trump needs a tool or a tactic to turn Putin around, and unless he's willing to commit U.S. forces, he has to fall back on more economic sanctions. And when he's threatened tougher economic measures up late, he's backed off again. So the present moment has to be very discouraging for Ukraine and its defenders.
District of Columbia, the troop deployment's going into its 3rd week. The president says he'll ask Congress for more money for upgrades in the city. Says it'll be maxed out in terms of beauty. Is it going to happen in other cities?
Well, we're not sure yet it's going to happen in D.C., for starters. But if it does, it will surely tempt Trump to take on the larger constitutional and political problems of taking over cities that are in states that are not as subject to federal orders as D.C. This city is a unique situation. As for maxing out on beauty, perhaps the model here would be the new Oval Office. This may be the ultimate case of beauty being in the eye of the beholder.
NPR's Ron Elving, thanks so much.
Thank you.